Good afternoon. I'm Frank Conkling, and this is Panda Consulting's ArcGIS Workshop. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at something we've gone over before, but we're going to use a different eye on it. And we're going to look at some of the newer tools that we have in here and dive into a little bit of some of the questions that we have about when we're mapping a subdivision, how do we make some of the decisions that are associated with it? Before we start, I just want to remind you again, the lower right corner is a QR code over to Panic Consulting website. You'll find out who we are, what we do, why we do it, how we do it. We are an ESRI business partner for over 28 years now. We are the first business partner to go and receive the parcel management specialty designation for the parcel fabric. We've known it, we know it inside and out. We've been using it since it very easily came out. We have a release-ready specialty and state and local government specialty designation. So what are we going to do today? And again, there's a lot here. We're going to take our time. We're going to answer and talk about this a little bit more. By the way, before I start, let me go and also say that we have a chat window for those of you that are here at the moment. If you have any questions or any comments or anything, please put them over in the chat window. Chris is going to go and he'll be monitoring it, and he'll go and make sure that I stop, pay attention to anything that's over there and make sure we address it all. The second thing is once we're done with the recording, stick around. We're going to turn on everybody's webcam, turn on everybody's mic, and we can have just a general discussion without it getting recorded. So, overview, we're going to build a subdivision. We're going to go and sort of go from taking the subdivision, how do you figure out where it is? What do you do with it? How do you input it? And we're going to use a couple of new tools. We're going to use, for example, COGO Reader. Great tool. We're going to go and use it. We're going to show you how to go and use it a little bit better than what it's doing in here. Then once we get that in, we're going to go and look at adjusting parcels and figure out which way do we go? How do we do certain things? If you want a preview of it, you can see that, in fact, I have a QR code here over to a blog. This is our blog post on our website, and you'll see not this month, but last month in April, which would have been the May blog post. It's a blog post about the boundary on the ground versus the words on the page, why original surveys still define the parcels as a surveyor in a couple states and a GISP. This is one of those critical things we have to understand if we're mapping parcels. Then we're going to go through, we're going to clip it, then we're going to start building lots. And we're going to use the build lots. We're going to use a copy lines 2 function inside the parcel fabric. But we're going to talk about putting in a putting in a traverse, making sure it's closing correctly, and why do we make certain adjustments as we're going along. Then finally, we're going to go, once we've got our lots in there, we'll go and we'll duplicate them and we'll make them into parcels. Overall, it'll probably take close to an hour to get done, but here's what we're going to do. Any comments or questions, go ahead and put them over in the chat window. All right, let's get started. So what is it that we're going to do today? Well, it turns out that we have a subdivision here, which happens to be a replat of a lot within an existing subdivision. So this is Corbett Subdivision Phase 2. It's a replat of Lot B of the Corbett Subdivision. All right, and in it, basically just taking it, splitting into 2 different lots. Not a huge subdivision, but it's enough that shows us most of the concerns that we have about subdivisions, lots, adjustments, those sorts of things, and how do we deal with inconsistencies between them. So this is the goal. This is what we're going to do. And I mentioned one of the first things was we're going to use COGO Reader. Now, if you go and apply COGO Reader against this, it actually is going to read this entire PDF, and it's going to try to go through and figure out where there might be a meets and bounds description. Well, it turns out that here's the meets and bounds description, as there always is on a subdivision. So at least in Florida, and this is subdivision is in Florida, subdivision, it requires that it has a meets and bounds description of that subdivision to be split up. All right. So as you can tell, this is pretty small. So what I've done is I've gone in, and this is one of the tricks that I do, is that if I have a subdivision with a meets and bounds description, rather than trying to use this original subdivision plat, I'll go in and I'll do a screenshot I'll zoom in here and take a screen capture of that meets and bounds area, and I'll use this instead of the original subdivision PDF for all of my COGO reader and that sort of thing. All right, so we're back over here in ArcGIS Pro. This is the area of concern, just to show you to help me. And this is another trick. This is trick number two, is that when I'm going to go and input things in here, the first thing I'm going to do is take that original subdivision plat and georeference it against my existing data to see how, in fact, it fits and be able to start doing some comparisons. For example, if I zoom in on here, I can see that as I zoom in here and it winds up showing some of this, that for example, on my existing subdivision, this lot boundary here was defined as being 217.74. However, with this replat, it defined that as 218.64. Again, that doesn't mean that those corners moved. It just means that there was a different measurement taken between them. And we can find that on every single one of these boundaries that we're going to go through. All right, so we'll talk about that when we get to adjusting. But this is one of the first things I do is I always go and georeference this so that I can go in here and use some of this information when I'm doing my traverse. All right, I'm going to turn this off at the moment. First thing, we're going to go and attempt to do the subdivision. So I am going to create a record on here, and this is Corbett subdivision, phase 2. Again, the recording date. In this case, I could have taken it from there. I'm just going to populate it as that. Now you'll note we went and we set up our record so that it doesn't show us all of those fields in here, only the ones that we require every single time. I'm also going to go and start a traverse. And in that traverse, I'm going to say that I'm going to build subdivision lines on here. I'm setting that beforehand because when I start using the COGO reader, it's going to ask me eventually, once I have a traverse in, to move it over into the traverse. And I want to set this beforehand that I'm going to build subs, not parcel lines on here. All right. You also went and noted maybe that I had a units mismatch here. This is one of those things that's kind of tricky as far as what's come in. And the reason I have a units mismatch is that if I look at my actual data frame here for the properties, it says that my projection is Florida, state plane Florida North at US feet. This is US survey feet that's being used for my projection. However, if I go to my project and I go to my options, to my units and look at my distance units, my default is currently set to international feet. There's only a small difference between them, 0.3048 versus 0.3048006060, but it's enough that Esri is warning us and saying, oh, you're using different units between here. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but if, like me, I don't want to see things popping up that trying to tell me I'm doing something different. So I'm going to set my default to be exactly the same as what my data frame, what my map frame is set as far as the default units, the projection units on here. Now I'm going to start. I've got a record created. I'm going to go to my modified features and pull up COGO Reader. COGO Reader, I love COGO Reader. It's not perfect, but it's a really nice tool to help us begin pulling traverses out, especially meets and bounds traverses. So I'm going to pull up this PNG file, which is just a screenshot of the original legal description on top of here. And when I'm done with that, it will have gone through and processed this. And this is not artificial intelligence. This is, in fact, looking at the optical character recognition that occurred on this image and said, okay, let's start matching things that we know are in our dictionary we want to look for. Things like point of beginning, north, degrees, east, thence. It's looking for words and it's trying to find those words and figuring out whether or not they form a closed polygon. So the first thing I'm going to do once I get through here, I'm going to look over here at my closure and see this is missing closure by 1,500 feet, not a closed polygon. So, or not a closed traverse. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go through here and start reading and looking at these matches and see what came in. First thing I see here is I see, oh, wait a minute, that's supposed to be 350.39. So if I zoom in, I could probably find that that was interpreted as a comma instead of a point. So if I change that, I can say, well, go ahead and rerun this and see if it identifies that. It does as a 0.39. And then I go here and I see south 89 degrees, something 2 minutes, something, something. Well, if I go over here, that's actually 12 minutes in here, and I can zoom in and read this more if I want. So that's 12 minutes on there. Let's go in and run this again and say, is that better? Oh, yeah, it finds all of that now. Still got a misclosure on there, which means I'm missing things in here. Then I go here. It's like, oh, wait a minute. South. Let's make sure those are zeros and not O's. And then let's go over here. And then there's a something OL. And that's supposed to be 0.1 seconds in here. Let's run this again. Now, each time I run it, I look to see, well, how am I getting, where's it missing on here? Go in here, here, and then it's here, west, 715. Again, I'm going to take that out and replace it with a period in here to see if that's the difference. Now I have a closure. I have a better closure on it. So that's, again, that 0.01 is a responsibility of, that's a result of the rounding that occurs in every single meets and bounds description. They're rounding the numbers, they're rounding the sections inside the bearings that they're calling out. Once I'm satisfied that this is a good reproduction of what the courses are that are called out in that legal description, I can then go and say, well, set the starting point. In this case, I have no connection lines. I can set the starting point and I have to click on there. And then I can come over here and say, well, this is the starting point on my legal description on here. If I go and read it, it turns out that's the starting point, that the point of beginning that I'm looking for. Once I have a starting point on here, what happens is this button over here becomes active and it says, okay, well, now you can move these courses into the Traverse. All right, so let me go and move them over into the Traverse file. Now, when I do that, all right, note it when it kept it as parcels here. So if I had gone back and looked at it, I probably should have changed my polygon line or the lines that I was inputting from parcel lines into subdivision lines. We'll take care of that. We don't have to worry about it. So if we look at and say, well, turn off everything except for our current lines, there's all our lines. All right. So there is the boundary of our subdivision without us even touching the traverse file, but locate it where it should be. Right now I'm going to go and say, well, let's just take all of these. I'll do it a different way. Let's go and say, let's take all of the lines from our current active record, and we can go and cut them and copy them special into our subdivision lines. All right. And just to verify, if I go in here, here's now my subdivision lines already in there, and I'm now building a subdivision boundary. Let me go back to my parcel or my parcel record workflows. I have a sub boundary, it closed. I can say create a seed. There's my seed and says this is a closed traverse and it will create a polygon for you. So I can now go and say build this out. Built out a subdivision. I can go in here and say this is, if I spelt it correctly, phase two. All right, this is phase two. I could take this and say, copy that over to here, on here, and I can put the other recording information that I needed in here. Turns out that this is in fact 30 acres. I can fill that in. Oh, it turns out the calculator is only 20 acres. I misspoke. That's supposed to be two 10 acre lots in here. So I now have this subdivision polygon on here. Now, I wasn't real careful when I looked at this, but if I go in here and zoom in, I can see that, in fact, there's a slight difference between that traverse that was shown on legal description and what the original ones were. All right. So if I were doing it correctly, I would actually go and look and say, well, maybe I have a basis of bearing issue or a ground to grid rotation issue, and I should go and calculate that. Since I no longer have this in the traverse, I can't apply that to all of them, but I'll go ahead and just note that next time if I run through this demo, I should apply that. I don't need to do it. It's just one as a surveyor. I like to do it because it then records that there was a slight rotation that was applied to this traverse on here. It actually records it with each of the lines on here. All right, so I have a new subdivision in here, phase two, but it's not aligned correctly. There's a lot of areas here where I can see that no, these aren't exactly the same. So my next step is once I have a full polygon that's built out, is to go and do my align parcels. All right. Now, this brings up a really interesting question. And this is the one that sort of gets everybody who's either a new mapper, even if you've mapped for a long time. The choice here is to take my new subdivision and move it into my existing data, or take my existing data and align that with my new subdivision. Common wisdom would say, well, I have new dimensions on there. These are more precise, so these must be better dimensions. However, I'm going to warn you, don't do that. Don't do that. And if you look again at my blog post here, you will see that in fact, we should not automatically jump to the assumption that new information is better or more accurate than the old information. It might be more precise, but that doesn't mean it's a better reflection of where those original corners are. Just because a surveyor goes out and records a different distance between two monuments doesn't mean that those monuments move. It means that that surveyor measured this as the distance between them. The location of the original monument is the one that defines where this is. So if I have in here an original monument set from the original subdivision, I'm going to use that instead of the new monument, the new corner, which is defined by that new division. And I'm going to adjust this new subdivision polygon against my original corners. I know that might be heresy for some people. As a surveyor, I'm just telling you there's an underlying concept here that's been going on for well over 200 years now that says that once a corner is established, once a monument is established, it should be very, very difficult to say you're going to move that monument or move that corner. Just because you get new information doesn't mean that the corners move. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop talking about that and look at the actual aligned parcels. So again, this option here is you either take your active record and adjust that. Whatever is selected is going to get adjusted, or you can toggle it to your existing elements, in which case it would adjust everything else. Not going to do that. I'm going to move it back to my active record and adjust the ones I just built to fit into my existing ones because they are established corners out there. So once I've got that, I've got a selected thing. I figure out how I'm going to do it. I've set these tolerances so that I know I can capture different elements in here. And note, one of the differences, I tend to use a tolerance that captures the corner differences, corner to corner, corner to corner. And then I also set my snapping tolerance, which is basically the align features tolerance that will take, if there is not a corresponding corner, a corresponding point, it will take the adjoining points and make sure that they match the lines. This is this top portion here on aligned parcels is point to point. This bottom portion is point to line. What in the old ArcMap parcel fabric we used to call line points, these are in fact the same corresponding things. This is the old tolerance tool, the transform tool. This is the align features tool. So now to generate this, I have to tell it generate my links within these tolerances, and it will go and generate the links. And because I have show preview on, it will show me where this new boundary is going to be moved and modified. And it's going to tell me that this one is going to come over here, here to here. So it's going to go and adjust my new traverse, my new subdivision boundary to fit into my existing one. And I can then tell it now, go ahead and align this up, and it will go and align it up. Note one of the things that occurs is that my links and my anchor points disappear. Those two feature classes are constantly cleaned out, and there's new things created and then cleaned out. Those are temporary feature classes. They are constantly used when you're doing alignments on here. So now I'm done. I can get off of the align features, and I now have my new selected record on here. That's a subdivision, and I want to clip out everything else that's underneath here. Now, because of this, this is taking the entirety of lot 4 and replacing it with a whole new set of things. I'm comfortable saying, okay, cut this out of my existing subdivision. It's a replat of a portion of that subdivision. Cut it out of any existing lots I have. I have lot number B here, and cut it out of my parcels because I'm going to create new ones as a result of the new lots I'm building. So I'm comfortable telling, go ahead and clip this out of everything. But I also have made sure that over in my table of contents, I've got my parcels on, my lots on, my subdivisions. I've turned off my section layers. I don't want to clip this out of my public land survey system. I only want to clip it out of the subdivisions, the lots, and the parcels here. All right, so let's go and do a clip. So I'm now going to tell it discard everything in here and just do it through everything that you're seeing right now. Clip everything on here. I can say, go ahead and clip this out. All right, so I have clipped it all the way through. I have clipped it out of my old subdivision, clipped it out of my old lots, clipped it out of my polygons. Just to show you, this is the subdivision here, the subdivision here. Let's get the entire, there's the Corbett subdivision. The lots have been taken out. My parcels have been taken down also. So it's clipped it out of all of it. My next step, if I look back on here, is once I've clipped out the subdivisions, I'm going to start building the lots. All right, to get to that point now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that polygon, and again, it just has to be the polygon that I've created, and I'm going to say copy the lines too. Now, I want to make sure beforehand that I've turned on my lot group, and I can say copy lines 2, and copy it lines to my lots. I'm going to do a couple other things here. I'm going to say, show me just my active record and preserve the attributes. I really, all it's really doing is preserving any of that subdivision attributes, but I'm going to leave that there. Now, what it does is it goes and says, okay, let's still just show the active record. It turns out that subdivision is part of that active record. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to turn off my subdivision layers. Now, when I look at this and I do a select of everything that's on here, all I have that one parcel line that it created. I'm going to go and turn that off also. I have all my parcel lines in here. I have my lot, my single lot polygon in here. Now I start building my lots from here. And I'm going to use that scanned image that I had, that georeference subdivision plat. And I'm going to build this line that goes from here up to here, to over here, and to here. That's the differentiation between lot number 1 and lot number 2. The rest of these, this is an easement that runs through. These are sort of zoning lines. This is a pond that's supposed to be on there. There's a lot of other information beyond what I am including inside my data set. But I'm going to use this plat to go and build these 2 points. So in order to do this, first thing I have to do is I have to go and take that line, that subdivision line, and I have to divide it. All right, so I'm going to use the divide tool. The divide tool says I've got one line and I want to divide it by distances, and I want to go and do multiple different distances here. Now it shows me, once I have divide by distance, it shows me my starting point, my ending point. It says, give me the sequence of the lines from that starting point. So I can go up here and say, okay, my first distance, and this is not a great scan, but I'm going to say it's 588.84. When I hit enter, it's going to tell me what the remaining distance is against that COGO. So I go in here and see 672.50. So I can do 672.50, and it will tell me there's 100th difference. Again, rounding errors that's accumulating between these two. And I'm going to say, just distribute it between these when it does this. So what this will do is it will go and split this line, divide this line into this point here and this point here. It will automatically go and prorate the acreage, or excuse me, prorate the distances onto those 2 lines. So I can say, go ahead and divide that. It's gone and divided the line. I'm done with the divide tool, so I can turn that off. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and draw a traverse line from this point all the way up and over and close it on that point there. So I'm going to go to traverse, and I'm going to say I'm not going to put parcel lines in. I'm going to do lot lines. All right. I'm going to set my start point to be my point here. And let's go and turn this off for a minute. It's going to start here. And then I'm going to go over here and set my closing point to that new point that I just established. All right. Going to go in here and I'm start inputting into my traverse tool. Again, these are lot lines. So I start 15, 11, 59 northeast. Yeah, 59. Oh, it's got on here, quadrant bearing, and this should be 59. All right, 15, 15, 11, 59. Why does this keep going back to my last point on here when I'm trying to go and zoom in on this? It turns out that on my traverse, I have set that this is automatically panning, which is fine for the most time, but just recognize that sometimes if I haven't started anything, it will keep going back to it. I'm going to leave this on, so when I get done, it'll move over there again. But that's my current quadrant bearing, 15, 11, 59, northeast, and my distance is 400.50 feet. All right, and it moves me up to this point here. My next lot is 27 degrees, 55 minutes, 45 seconds, northeast, hitting enter, and why are these? Why is it set on north? Ah, let me go back to my project and let's look and see. My angular units on here. These are set to degrees. No, this is degrees, minutes, and seconds. The distance unit types, these should not be north azimuths. This should be quadrant bearing. Again, it's important to make sure that your default values, I set the actual distance unit to be internet or survey feet. Make sure that all of yours are set correctly as you're going through here. And I'll make sure that all these defaults are then used from that point forward. Here, it's in here. It actually is setting that display on here also. What gets displayed since the beginning on here. Since I changed it after I started my traverse, it's keeping that original one in there. And let me go and do this. Let me go and throw this traverse away and just start it again with the correct settings. All right. Traverse, lot lines. Here is let me make sure I'm on the right point. Here, my end point is over here. Notice this is a quadrant bearing. On here, let's do lot lines. Notice, by the way, it already kept that original one in there. When I'm on my traverse, it automatically goes and stores those. All right. Fifteen, 11, 59 northeast, 400.50. It's storing it now correctly. All right, now 27, 55, 45, northeast, 189.14. All right, moves up to here. Then we go across here. This is due east, 90 degrees, due east. And this is a total distance of 522.00 feet. All right, and note, I told it what the closing distance is, all right, and here, and I told it to automatically go and close within here. And note, it says 306. Why does it say 3 feet for that? Is there a problem with this subdivision when I put it in here? The answer is no. And no. Actually, what happened was, remember when I did the align parcel, when I adjusted the subdivision, I adjusted it to fit into the existing one. So it adjusted the corners and the points between here to fit into the existing ones. So I did get a difference in my closure, but that's only a difference inside of that one single line that's actually been adjusted and prorated to fit inside of there. The information that's stored on these COGO lines are actually the input information that I input. If we go and share this off, and let's turn on our lot labels. All right. Um, let's do this on the dimensions, I think. On here. Yep. So those have been set and established on here with those that information. Note it closed outside my reference, so I can tell it to go ahead and force my closure, and we'll make sure that that's forcing it there. It gave me my misclosure distance because I told it that's the ending point. So it didn't automatically snap it, but it told me there's a misclosure. I then told it to force that closure so it automatically closes to that point on there. So I'm satisfied now that these are now reflective of what's on the subdivision plat, and I can go back to my continuing building my lots on here. So I can now create any seeds that are missing. There's my original seed that's now been used for this one lot. There's my second seed, and I can say build out my lots. When I build out my lots, it automatically turns on or turns off the show active record. Right now, I still see a point here and a point here because I still have the traverse tool open. If you see them on your display, it means you're still in the traverse tool. So I can go and turn those off. Now let me go and label these two. This is lot number one. This is lot number two on here. Lot number one, lot number two. I know we only have two parcels here, but just to let you know, I'm going to go ahead and use the sequential numbering tool just to show it off. And I'm going to go and sequentially number the lot polygons in here. And this lot number, it's only going to be one character in here. And I'm going to start with one. And I'm going to increment by one and tell it, go ahead and lot one and two. There's lot one, there's lot two. Now this format here, if I had more than one pound sign, it would pad it with a zero. And once I actually have begin using this for a while, I can understand that this actually allows me to go and completely fill in whatever I want to go and do for those those numbers on here. So I could actually have a subdivision component on here. I can put lot in front of it. There's a lot of things I can do with this. In this case, I'm only going to do one and two on here and go from there. All right, I'm now done with my lots for this. So I also go and look, what are my attributes? I now have two individual lots. Oh, I did not fill in my subdivision here. My subdivision name. Let me go and fill that in. If I wish to go and populate all of the features that I have selected, I can go to my lot elements here, and then I can tell it that this subdivision name is Corbett Subdivision Phase 2. And when I hit enter, they will both be populated with Corbett Subdivision Phase 2. I also have the calculated acreage, and I can say that, well, on lot number one, shown on the plat, is supposed to be 10 acres. Lot number two, is shown on the plat, that 20 acres comes from the subdivision. I'm going to change it back to 10 acres. Now I fully populated each of those lot polygons. All right, done with lots. Done with lots. So I did copy lines two, built the lots. Now, once I'm done with that, I can go and do the duplicates on here. On here, what I want to do now is I want to take those parcels and I want to duplicate them up to the lot parcels. Now, when I do that, notice it switched from lots to parcels. And now what I need to do is just attribute them with the actual parcel numbers in each of those. I can do that my um, with my sequential numbering tool if I want. I go back up here to sequential numbering and say that I want to go and now sequentially number my parcels. And in this case, it is 04172 dash, and then it's pound sign there. If you'll note, it's the subdivision number and then the parcel number inside of it. I'm assuming 002 is going to be the next subdivision. So I'm going to do it and say this is one, increment by one. Again, I'm on parcels, so I can go through and draw this, and it will go and populate them automatically. Not quite done. I still need to go and save. Before I do that, I'm going to do a little bit more of QA/QC. I'm going to flip over to my quality tab, and I'm going to look at my highlight gaps and overlaps. Now, this setting is a really nice setting inside of the parcel fabric. It allows you to go and basically do topologic evaluations. Do I have gaps or overlaps inside of these? And I'm going to tell it, check on every layer that's visible and check and identify anything that's less than 6 feet. I'm assuming 6 foot is less than an alley or road in here. And show gaps as red, show overlaps as green, and say go ahead and check them. And in fact, I see a dashed line around the boundary here, which means, and there's nothing identified here. Just to show you how this works, I might move over to a different area and say, let's go ahead and do that, gaps and overlaps, and I can see gaps and overlaps here and such. So within that one subdivision, there are none. I might as well go and fix this. So what do I have here? I have here, and let's clear this so we can see, I have here 2 points that are not coincident, and they have a gap between them. Couple ways of fixing this, but there's 2 tools we use. For the most part, I'm going to use merge points in here, and I'm going to tell it to select from these 2 points and tell it which one to go to. In this case, I'm going to tell it to go to 1. All right. And then I'm going to say, okay, now let's check for gaps and overlaps. It has fixed that gap and overlap. Let me zoom back out again because there were a couple in this area. Okay, no gaps and overlaps there. Obviously was gaps and overlaps here. There's one down here I want to go and fix. Let's try merge points here. Let's see if we have multiple points here. Nope. Multiple points here. Nope. I can guarantee there's a difference between that point and that line in here. That's actually what it was. So for this type of a gap, I'm not going to use merge points. I'm going to actually use the align features tool. Align features tool is up here, align features tool. I'm going to check. I have no topology on here. I'm going to use, let's say 5 foot here. Make sure that it's set to fit the shape to the point. I'm going to tell it to draw the straight line between here and here. They should be connected up. And tell it go ahead and line these up. And now I'm going to tell it check again. Is there a gap or overlap there? And there is no gap. Now I'm going to save. All right. We went through a couple things here. And I showed you some additional tools in here beyond here. We sort of built the subdivision. We had gone and georeferenced the subdivision plat in there. We used COGO reader to look at the actual legal description on there. We went and built the traverse for the subdivision. We built it. We then adjusted the parcels using this concept of which of these corners do you use, which of these locations do you use. We then clipped it out. We then used that clip to go and start building the lots using the copy lines too, where it took the lines from the subdivision, copied them into the lots. I turned off the subdivision so I no longer had to see them. I then told it, let's go and start splitting up and dividing and doing traverse. I recognized that my disclosure, some of it was due to a difference in the the adjustment that I did so that it fit against the existing subdivision. Again, that's fine for this. I then, once I built my lots, I used sequential numbering to go and number them. I then selected those and duplicated them up to the parcel layer that I had clipped out earlier. I then went and completed the subdivisions, and then I checked for gaps and overlaps, and I identified some not inside that subdivision, but elsewhere. All right, I see there's no comments in here. So any other questions in the chat window? Not? I'm going to stop the recording and thank you all for being here. Again, if you have any other suggestions on workshops we might do, please go ahead and send them to me. There's my email, our username and account. Here's our phone numbers. By the way, if you're going to be at the user conference this year and you want to get up and meet with me, I'll be there. Text to my mobile number and we'll see if we can get together and talk. Thank you again. See you later.